Alright, Joe here, working out in the garage in January in eastern Washington, where it is about 33 degrees and pouring down rain. We sometimes get snow this time of year. We haven't had much snow to speak of at all, but this dampness sure is painful. I'm out here working on restoring or rebuilding a Gen 3 LS. Going to be putting that into an International Scout. Doing an LS upgrade. I've got my connecting rods here. There's a couple different styles. This is the press fit. Some of them have a floating wrist pin, and this is the version that has the press fit. So on the pistons, you can see there is no machined groove in here that accepts that little keeper, and the piston just slips, or the wrist pin just slips right through. And it's actually captured here. It's a press fit on the connecting rod itself here. I'm going to do a quick little video here and show you how to get these installed. I'm not a professional. This is how I'm doing it. Most of the books, they say that these are done by the machine shop. I didn't have mine done at the machine shop, and I'm doing it here in the garage. What you need is a torch. Get that in frame there. So you get your little torch. I'm using a little Bernzomatic MAP propane combination. Doesn't need to be too hot. And we're just going to heat up the tip here until it's just barely glowing red. I don't even actually see red color out here, but what I do see is the surface of the metal kind of starts to look a little different in the flame, and I know that it's hot enough at that point. And then you just carefully slip that wrist pin right in there. Hold it right about center, and it cools off real fast, and then it locks it in place. It feels a little tight at first. As that heat soaks into this wrist pin, the aluminum and the steel, they have a different expansion rate. The aluminum seems to kind of grab onto that wrist pin for a second, and then once it cools and settles in after maybe a minute or less, everything loosens and frees back up, and it's good and installed. I'm going to go ahead and reset here, and I'll show you heating it up and getting it installed next. Alright, well, there's a couple different styles of these connecting rods here. The ones that I have happen to have a wider chamfer on the one side than the other, and that wide side wants to face the front of the engine. And then likewise on the pistons, you should have a marking on that piston that indicates front. So make sure that you're getting these oriented correctly. Sometimes it's done with a dot. The ones that I have actually have a little groove kind of scored into them from the factory when they got built there. I'm just kind of staging my piston over off to the side with the piston the wrist pin slipped out just a little bit so that I can grab it and get it lined up. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing heated up here, and then I'll get that slipped in and see if I can keep my hands out of the way enough for you to watch. don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but I'm starting to see that the color on the surface there is just dancing around a little bit, so I'm gonna set that down. Get this guy lined up right here, and get that guy slipped in, and then get that right there in the center and hold for just a second, and then it locks in place. Let's see here. Okay, and that's locked in now, and this is pretty firm. I can't move that, and then you see it kind of starts to lighten up. I'm not forcing it. This is just real gentle. There it goes, and now it's starting to cool off. There you go. And that's that. And I got that just kind of pressed in there, and then that wrist pin is just floating. I don't know if you can see it here on the side. See how that wrist pin is locked in there and floating on the piston.